And some
represent the
important
industry.
legislation was passed during your term.
Yes. So we got 7 bills passed that year, which was awesome. So I got to go testify on some of the bills. One of them was the Homeowner Bill of Rights.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a really big bill at the time to help create a little more certainty in the development process. And come to find out, kind of an interesting story, but I helped kind of testify for that bill. And about a year later, I had actually the first phase of Pebblebrook Hollow. I was trying to submit it. And I remember going to the village, and I actually pulled up the statute because they didn't understand the process. And I walked them through it. And because I served and I gave time to the industry, I was very educated on it. And I was able to sort of educate them and then also use that to move the project forward.
Interesting. Hello, my name's Paul Seitz. I'm the Business Development Consultant for R&R Insurance Services in Waukesha, Wisconsin. Thank you for being with us today. This is Land Development Focus, a podcast that explores this fascinating business of land development, specifically in Wisconsin. We look at the numerous government entities involved, the approval process. To do so, we meet with Wisconsin-based developers and home builders. The two industries are closely associated. With me today is David Belman from Belman Homes.
Thanks for having me, Paul. I appreciate it.
So, David, Belman Homes has been in business now over 35 years?
Yep, since 1981, I believe.
I understand you're actually second generation.
Yep, I'm a second generation builder. So my father started the company. He actually was in real estate and land development as early as 1971. And then when his builder friend retired during the housing recession in the early 80s, my father decided to pick up home building. He worked closely with them, so he kind of got a lot of the really good trades, and he started building a couple of houses, and things kind of turned around, and business picked up really quickly, and we became a 3-in-1 where we do home building, land development, and real estate.
You know, I know a lot of founders of businesses have a difficult time with the transition to the next generation. You obviously succeeded. How come it worked so well for Belman Homes?
Well, I think he had a good foundation, and I think we knew early on that what the plan was eventually going to be. And so it wasn't always perfect because I think, especially with real estate, there's so much dollars and assets, and it's a complex business, so it is very difficult to transition. That's why I don't think you see that many multi-generational businesses. But I think I knew from an early age that I wanted to get involved, and my parents kind of, nudged me a few times to go the right path. I mean, it was in the basement of our house. We grew up with this, and at the dinner table, the conversations were always about customers and building and different things. And
hard to get you out of the sandbox building stuff.
Yeah, and when I was 17 years old, I graduated high school, and while all my friends were, goofing around during the summer, I spent 3 hours most nights a week going to real estate class. And furthermore, my mom said, you know what, we need a salesperson, so you're going to the model. So I'm 17 years old, and I'm not a big guy, so I was like 5'4" at the time, I'm probably 120 pounds, and I'm trying to sell houses, And but I learned a lot, and end of the summer I got my license. I started selling houses, and went to college full time and kind of did the selling and learned the business. And they got me into doing some investment stuff after I got out of college, and then we just kind of kept taking bigger steps, moving forward, and here we are.
So Belman Homes has developed a number of single-family subdivisions in the Waukesha area primarily. I understand Pebblebrook Hollow is your newest. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that one we're excited about. It's in the village of Waukesha. It's kind of a unique development because it's a single-family condominium development. So it was the first one ever in the village of Waukesha. So we had to kind of go through some processes of educating them on, how condominiums work because they didn't have any before that. But it's a beautiful piece of land. It's 88 acres of rolling terrain. We've got woods and wetland areas and all sorts of cool stuff in there. So the first phase is all single family condos. So when you drive through it, it looks like a regular subdivision.
Right.
But the ownership's a little different, where you have fractional ownership of the land, and that allows us to do all the maintenance on it. So you get the feel and the look of a single family home, but we cut the grass, we plow the driveway, we put the salt down, we mulch, we trim the trees. So anything outside the building you don't have to deal with. And then the second half.
That's innovative.
Yeah, it is, and it's people have been attracted to it. Especially, got a lot of clients that have, like we call them the snowbirds, where they go down to Florida or Arizona in the winter, so they can, enjoy, that home and the weather down there, and not have to worry about their home up here. And then we just put a new phase in. We're about to pave it, and that's going to be a few more condo lots, but then we have 19 1-acre kind of estate level lots, and just gorgeous.
Very
gorgeous back there.
diverse and pretty large, 88 acres.
Yeah,
That
it's a big
is
farm.
A large development.
Yep. So we did in 2 phases just to kind of break it up, and it's been going really well.
Belman Homes has been known as engaged in the Waukesha community in a lot of different ways. But I know that your philanthropic effort, Operation Finally Home, is really your favorite. I know you've been involved for years.
Absolutely.
Tell us about that.
Sure. So Operation Finally Home, what we do is we find a injured combat veteran, a deserving veteran, and we surprise them and give them a brand new mortgage-free home, completely free of charge. It's kind of a leap when you think about what we're doing and how much is involved with that.
It's a big gift.
Yeah, it is a big gift. But what's really cool about it is we involve the community, the building community, the Builders Association, all the trades. Everybody steps up and does a little part. And since it's Veterans Day today, it's kind of cool that we're talking about veterans. So I appreciate that. We started this. I learned about it back in like 2012. I was at the International Builders Show, and I heard about it. Then an opportunity came about a year later to get involved with it, and I was the only builder in the room that really knew about it. So I volunteered right away, and I remember it vividly. I was in the Dells, and all of a sudden I drove home, and I was in the car for 2.5 hours, and I just said, "Oh my gosh, what did I do? I just agreed to give a house away for free. What was I thinking?"
Now, how many have you done?
We've done 6 homes here ourselves that we personally built, and there's been 8 total in Wisconsin.
That for veterans and our community, it's a wonderful effort.
Yeah, and they give a lot, their time and their family. A lot of these people that we help are seriously injured. They were going to do this their whole lives. So they're looking at 25-year plus service, so they had that taken away. So if you can imagine not only being physically injured, possibly disabled, and then losing your job and your identity, it's very difficult for them. So this not only helps them, give them a fresh start, a lot of them go back to college and start a whole new kind of career. But it's neat to see them and their family grow. So we just had an event the other day, and they have babies and their families are growing, and we get to see them, and it's just really cool.
You stay connected to those veterans.
Absolutely, yeah. We invite them all, like every year, to our golf outing. A lot of times we'll have all the families there, and it's neat to see. Like we have 15 kids now, Operation Finally Home kids that have grown up in these homes.
Born in your homes.
Yeah, either born or like some of them were 2 or 3 when we started working with them. So to see them grow up in these homes, it's super cool.
You've obviously you've been very involved in your industry through the Metropolitan Builders Association and onto the Wisconsin Builders Association. I believe you were president in 2017.
Yes, that's correct.
Tell us about that experience.
Yeah, so my father was president of the Metropolitan Builders Association back in the day, and I remember being maybe about 17 years old when he did that. So he always kind of said, "You should do this someday," and so that was kind of neat to follow in his footsteps. And I think I was the first second-generation MBA president at my local, and then I got kind of right around that time I was doing the Operation Finally Home stuff. They asked me to serve on the Wisconsin Builders Association. So, in fact, it was the same day that I decided to do the Operation Finally Home House that they asked me to be state president. and nothing to do with either, but it was just like, holy cow.
A lot on your plate.
That was a game-changing day in my life. But yeah, I served that. It was a wonderful experience. I got to travel all around the state, meet other builders,
And some
represent the
important
industry.
legislation was passed during your term.
Yes. So we got 7 bills passed that year, which was awesome. So I got to go testify on some of the bills. One of them was a homeowner bill of rights. And that was a really big bill at the time to help create a little more certainty in the development process. And come to find out, kind of an interesting story, but I helped kind of testify for that bill. And about a year later, I had actually the first phase of Pebblebrook Hollow. I was trying to submit it. And I remember going to the village, and I actually pulled up the statute because they didn't understand the process. And I walked them through it. And because I served and I gave time to the industry, I was very educated on it. And I was able to sort of educate them and then also use that to move the project forward.
Interesting. Housing, it's been quite a hot topic, or I should say affordable housing.
Oh, yeah.
It's become, actually, the Badger Institute, which is a nonprofit group in our state, they recently completed a study of housing across Wisconsin. And one of the interesting facts is the first time in 2024, the average cost of a new home and lot package exceeded $500,000. The average.
Yes.
And
that even seems low, at least in the area we are.
Well, it really, I think feeds the discussion about affordable housing. How, what can we do as a community to create some more affordable housing?
Yeah, it's a huge topic and it's complex. I know the other thing that came out just the other day newsworthy is the average age of a first-time home buyer is now 40 years old, which it's climbed. I mean, it was like 26 back in the late 90s. So that's a very troubling sign. So I'm very passionate about housing affordability. There's a lot of things that go into it. Regulation is number one, in my opinion. I think it's the easiest one to solve, or not really the easiest one to solve. It's the most dollars that we could pull out of it, because it's $87,340 is added to the cost of a home due to local, state, and federal regulations.
So 87,000 out of about 500.
Yeah, so you're at 25%.
Is to comply with the mountain of regulations.
Yes.
Very interesting.
So there's some fat there that you could chew out of the equation, but some of the issues that we're facing are increases in energy codes. I'm also very active at the National Association of Home Builders, and so the stuff that we're fighting there right now is a lot of this energy code stuff. We had to fight off all those gas stove bans. We feel like people need to have as many choices as possible to lower the cost. Taking gas away reduces choices. Now we have a ban the ban bill going on where we're trying to ban states, because now nationally they don't allow this, but some states are trying to put regulations in to ban gas stoves. So we're trying to get ahead of that. And then there's a lot of it on the development side. So in fact, 2/3 of those costs that I mentioned are on the development side. So between platting, between Waters of the United States, which is something that we're working with the administration on right now, those are all kind of things that we're constantly fighting. The problem is legislation. I explain it like a rubber band ball. So if you ever made a rubber band ball, you start with a couple rubber bands and you just keep putting them on, and it just becomes this tangled mess. That's basically what our legislation is right now. It's a tangled mess. And we just keep adding more things to it, and it just gets bigger and bigger. And at some point, you have to kind of say, let's rip this thing apart and start from scratch and simplify this. And we haven't simplified things since really the 50s, and that's when a lot of this stuff came about.
We do, the State Builders Association right now has a few pieces of proposed legislation. And one of them, in Wisconsin, every municipality is required to have a comprehensive plan, which is supposed to be the big picture of their community and what the future holds, be it residential, commercial, Costco, whatever. And that, the idea being that, well, you have this plan, all you have to do is find the development interest in that area. Yet, apparently, communities in many cases really don't follow state law.
Yep.
And there is a bill, Assembly Bill 453 right now, Truth in Planning, to try and create a process that everyone understands.
Yep.
So they're trying to take apart the rubber ball, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and as a developer, it's incredibly frustrating because you're taking a massive amount of risk anytime you decide to do a project. And typically, you don't want to start investing in engineering and surveying and all the planning things that you have to do until you know what you can do. And so I think that's why this bill is important, is that you want to kind of know some of the rules of the game before you go into it, because you might spend $1 million or $3 million buying a parcel of land, and it might take another year or two before you can actually get it to the point where you can develop it, because you have to go through all these processes. Mm-hmm. And so you have the holding cost of the land, now you have the interest on the land, and then you're investing hundreds of thousands of dollars in engineers and surveyors and attorneys and all these other things. And meanwhile, you've got a municipality, if they're kind of flippant or they've got a board that doesn't understand all these things and they're pushing back on things. And it's not necessarily the board members, because they're elected officials, but they're afraid of the NIMBYism. And if you don't know what NIMBYism, it stands for not in my backyard. Mm-hmm. So typically, whenever you change zoning of a development, you have to bring or send out a public notice to people, and they get the opportunity to come and share their feelings about a development. And my Pebblebrook Hollow, I had to spend 3 hours at a public hearing listening to neighbors come up. They had a Facebook group that they set up, and they each had their own little talking point, and they had to come up. And, I'm concerned about, traffic. This road can't handle the traffic. Well, I paid for a traffic study. It says the road can take 30,000 cars a day. Right now there's 4,000 cars a day. Our study says we'll add 1,000 more trips on the road. So there's still plenty of capacity in the road. Mm-hmm. And so I literally had to go like an attorney almost through each item that they complained about and show facts of how that's not going to be a problem. And ultimately, that Homeowner Bill of Rights says that if I prove all those things and prove all those points, and they can't dispute those points, the municipality has to approve the development. Mm-hmm. Now, this goes a step further and gives you more assurances on the front end. Mm-hmm. Again, I had already committed to buying that property, so I was still taking a risk, because if I didn't get that subdivision approved, I have a very expensive piece of land that I guess maybe I ATV on and hunt on. From it. Yes, yeah, I have a very expensive farm. Yep. So, it's very important that we have something like this.
So what does the future hold for Belman Homes?
We're excited. We just are getting the new phase of Pebblebrook going. We've got some pre-sales, so we're going to work through that. We have our Woodland Hills project, which is also in the city of Waukesha. So we have about 90 more sites there, another condominium site. And then we have 2 other big land holdings in Waukesha. I've got a 80-acre parcel that I hope to do someday after we get some of these other ones done. And so we're just going to continue to develop and build homes. And we are looking at doing some more affordable type of new homes, if there is such a thing, and trying to hit that younger home buyer, build some stuff smaller, a little different than what we've done in the past. So that'll be that next project when we get around to that one. So we're excited for that.
That'll be interesting to watch it unfold.
Yep.
Hey, we really thank you for your time. I think that was a great explanation of what you face as a developer, builder. It's a very uncertain business, as it were.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a challenge, but it's fun, it's rewarding, and there's nothing better than getting the house done, giving the keys to the new homeowner, and seeing their excitement and seeing their family grow and live the American dream.
And as a veteran, your Operation Finally Home, thank you.
It's my pleasure. Yep, and we can always do more for our veterans, so I'm glad to be able to play a small part in it.
Thank you, David.
My pleasure.